Welcome to the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. I am your host, Ann Alston, and it is once again my pleasure to bring quality programs to all of you around the world. Here again, season 4, 2019 is the place to be at the Businessmen and Women of Color podcast. And we have this year over 50 participants, probably close to 60 people that is going to be on this podcast platform this year. It is just getting better and better every year that we're doing this. And today we have another amazing speaker, marketing coach, guru, however you want to call it, that's going to be here. And we're going to be interviewing him about his background and everything. So just want to make sure that you are liking, sharing, and voting for your favorite BMWC podcast participant. We have 7 awards coming up again for the 3rd year. So make sure that you vote, like, and share. Now, just in case you didn't know what the purpose of the BMWC is that we are uniting people from around the world to talk about what's going on in the business industry. We're talking about what speakers are up to and also what publications that are out there. And we're sharing this information with you, everyone around the world, so that we can be better informed and enlightened on how we want to see our career and business grow over time. So make sure that you are checking out all the pages for this season. Also check out and listen to their podcast stories, because you never know where your big opportunity is going to come from with all the amazing people on here. So make sure you like, share, and vote, and definitely reach out to them if you have any questions. Before we get started with our interview today, I would like to take a moment to thank our corporate sponsors, who are My Financial Home, Evangelism Radio, J&F Enterprises, Sears Consulting, Autism Families Rock, Awakening to Love, Eli Natoli, Kimberly McLemore, True Synergy, and Platinum Financial Services, along with all of our participants who's helping to make this season a huge success. So we're going to be bringing someone to the podcast who is an expert in branding, and he is going to be talking about his experience. We're going to bring on Dino Carter, who is passionate about brand experience and aligning his brand personality values and attributes to the community. He has over 20 years of extensive marketing experience, and he leads branding with a unique and comprehensive approach and in-depth understanding and interaction between brands, customer, and commerce. He is also experienced with different tools to help you evaluate both branding processes and the implementation of brand strategy across your company. So as you guys continue to read his bio, we're going to be talking to Dino. Dino, what's happening?
Hey, what's up?
Everything is going good. Everything is going good. And thank you so much for being part of the movement and being on a podcast. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and where you're from and what led you to get into branding?
First of all, let me say thank you for having me. I'm really proud and happy to be part of the movement, part of this podcast.
That's right.
Um, and it's so cool that people from all over are part of that. I am in Hollywood, California. I was born in Israel and for many years was on the Israel-England line. So I lived in London a lot, and I've been traveling. So I've seen the world. I've seen people all over. I gotta say, somewhere in my early 20s, I was fortunate enough to work with MTV, with Viacom Europe, and I worked there with so many different nationalities. I did merchandising and licensing and managed the merchandising for properties such as Dora the Explorer and SpongeBob SquarePants. And, people from all over the world. We used to have two meetings in a year in London. And it's really interesting. And I learned a lot from working with so many people, different people, French, China, America, Turkey, Israel, the US, wherever. So I learned a lot about consumer behavior. which is really important for marketing and, of course, branding.
Wow, fantastic. You've been everywhere. You've been more places than I can ever dream of. I think I've only been to what, maybe one or two places where I still was in the United States and never traveled abroad. So I have no idea where places to go. And so I'm definitely going to get with you as far as my travel plans concerned. But let's getting back to your interview is that I think it's amazing that you have gotten a chance to experience so many cultures along the way as you started to learn about branding and marketing and things of that nature. So, who was your biggest influencer during that time that really got you to start going in that direction?
Well, actually, when I was a teenager, I, I, I was in a rock band, and apparently I did something good because people actually really liked me, and I was pretty successful in that. And I started to know, editors in magazines and writers and all that. And somewhere around the age of 16, 17, which is pretty early for that, I understood everything about PR and how the whole thing works. Um, that nothing is for free and everything is very well thought of, and there's strategy and all that. So in a very early age, I started to actually do that and work in marketing. When I was 20 something, I did PR for Levi's. That was back in the 90s, and I think that was one of the biggest things that taught me so much. Because when you work with one of the biggest brands in the world, um, more than 150 years brand. And during the 90s, it wasn't, you know, the good time for Levi's. And
Hmm.
actually feeling and working with such a big brand in time of distress uh, taught me a lot. And I've done so many things, and in over 20 years, I've learned that technology changed, culture changed, society, but the fundamentals of creating a strong brand haven't. And because I'm so passionate about branding, when I see bad branding, I get so frustrated. I get so emotional.
Oh my goodness. Well, before you get there, let me just ask a few questions because I'm really curious to know because I think this interview could be one of those platforms where you can really sort of break down the differences in the different types of marketing. So, like when you were branding for like Levi's, for example, compared to maybe what's the other one in your bio, like National Geographic or maybe MTV or some of these other places that you mentioned,
Hmm.
what was some of the differences in branding versus, what you did back then versus today that is like drastically different that you feel like that it should still be the
That's
same?
a great that's a great question. I gotta say, it's a great question. And the thing is that I've done well. Branding is part of the big umbrella of marketing. Marketing has different segments. One of them is branding. And the misconception of society, or most of people, most of business owners and entrepreneurs, is that branding is your logo. Branding is your website. It's something to have with design, and it's not that. And every business is different. So anything that I did with, let's say, Levi's or I don't know, business X is different than what you do with business Y, but the fundamentals, the framework is the same. And it doesn't matter if you're just launching a business or a product or a service, or your business is 100 years old. For instance, Procter and Gamble just last month, and one of the biggest companies in the world, they understood that they need to change the way they look at branding because they didn't look at it the right way all those years. And this is something that a lot of mainly big businesses has the problem because in the past, the consumers didn't have as much power as they or we have today. We are now living in a very specific era where consumers have all the power. And not only we have all the power is in one finger, in our thumb, clicking on our iPhone. Or
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. We have the power to say we want to buy or we don't want to buy just
that's
by
that's
one
huge.
click of a major thing. All the apps in the world, and people can easily like just scroll by and never ever come back, right?
Exactly. The
Wow.
mobile payment growth from 2016, in 2016 it was 26%, 2017 it was 32%, 2018 37, this year it's going to be almost 50, and by 2025 it's going to be 74% mobile
Wow.
payment. That means that
Wow.
everything will be paid by one click of the thumb. That's tons of power. And for since the industrial revolution, the brands, the companies had all the power. They could have, they did whatever they want. They knew that no one will even know about it. I mean, who knew that Ford
Mhm.
100 years ago shut the employees because they didn't want to go to work? No one knew about it. But now, 100 years
Mm.
after, we know about it.
Mhm.
Now, think about it. If you're going in, and today, if you will do something small in your company to an employee, the same day, the whole media will know about it. All your friends, everybody will know about it because someone took a video of it in his mobile and smartphone.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so
Wow.
things have changed, but again, to create a strong brand is still the same. And it's about inspiring and create relationships and trust.
Okay, so let's just go a little bit deeper because I know a lot of people who are listening to this one. When you said that people, or when I say people, I'm talking about business owners now,
Sure.
feel that their website and their logo is a brand, which is the new view of branding, the new view of how new businesses are looking at how they promote themselves because of the click of the button and the mobile ability, right? To just show their logo and just be that brand. Because if you look at Target and you look at Kmart, you look at Walmart and all these other places that just show nothing but a symbol, right? So they're thinking, hey, I have a logo. But when you say that it is not that, what is the number one thing that those things are?
Let's think about it. The first thing I would say is trust. Why do you think that you look at the Target logo and you know it's Target? It's not about knowing, it's about feeling. Think about it. When you see the Target logo, you have specific feeling inside. You feel something. When you see a Mercedes logo, you feel something. When you
Mm-hmm.
see Marshalls, if we're talking about other companies like Target, you see the Marshalls logo, you have a different feeling inside, in your body, in your stomach than when you see the Target logo. A
Right.
brand,
Okay.
a brand is a feeling that someone has towards your business, product, or service. The word brand is easier to say, hey, that's my brand, but you don't have a brand, okay? And that's your logo, it's not your brand. That's your product, it's not your brand. A brand is a feeling. But
Mm-hmm.
if we don't want to get that deeper, okay? So think about that. if no one knows about you, if no one has specific feelings about your business, you don't have a brand.
Wow, that's powerful. That is
And the second,
powerful.
yeah, and the
I never thought of it in that concept because I think that from my perspective, I do kind of look at like the feeling that, when I see like a product like Target or McDonald's, I totally agree. When I see McDonald's, the first thing I'm thinking is, oh, I'm going to have me a really good meal today. I'm feeling good today, versus if I see a Mercedes, I'm going to feel like, you know what, I would really love to drive this expensive car, but it's too expensive, and I
yeah,
think that
yeah,
that also helps people drive to buy, right? But when you
exactly.
say that that logo or that message on your website is not a brand, it's just, something that's representing your company. And if they don't feel any way about it, you don't have a brand. That to me is, very profound that you said that.
That's the most important thing that most people and most businesses don't understand, and that's why most people and most businesses fail. The amount of big, huge brands and really big companies that have been with us for so long and they are such big brands, it's a very, very small number. Most businesses, mainly in the States, shutting doors between 3 to 5 years. And I've seen all business owners doing the same mistakes. And if we're talking about brand, and if you do have a brand or you don't have a brand, what I always say is that, and this is really important, it's not about you, it's about them. As
Yes.
business owners or someone who invented a product or started a service or a business, we fall in love with that product or service. And we keep thinking about that. That's the last thing you need to think of in 2019. You need to think of the customers, not the product. Because if you
Mhm.
want traction, if you want them to feel something
Mhm.
and then buy and buy again and say good things about you and take photos and selfies and post it on social media and tell all their friends, oh, I like this XYZ, you have to try it. You have to have feelings, you have to have relationship with them, so you need to think about them, not about you, not about your product, and not about your product features. Because
You pretty much
Mhm.
hit the nail on the head, Dino, and this is the reason why. I can't tell you how many times I think in my courses or maybe even mentoring that I say those exact words because, regardless of what you might like for your website, for example, or your brochure or your business card or whatever, is it something that the customer is going to love because you think you love it, right?
So true, so
And
true.
yeah, and so a lot of times what I usually say is forget about what I like. Forget about what I like because I'm going to like whatever I create anyway, right? I'm
Yeah,
gonna look at how is the customer gonna get the message the moment that they touch anything that I do from, photos to anything, how
anything.
and
Yeah,
like you said, and I think for me, what really kind of resonated with me is that I think I need to deep dive more into the feeling. It's like I'm touching onto the feeling, but I need to deep dive more into the feeling when someone comes to my website or engage in anything that I'm doing outside of this. And I think that people need to really hear that because in the end, the person that is buying the service is someone else. So
yeah,
and then
exactly.
yeah, and then later on, they'll tell you, say, oh, I kind of like this product, or oh, I like the color, or oh, I like what you're doing. And then in I think for most of us, especially like really tiny businesses, we look at that and say, oh, they liked it, but we're not internalizing it and how we can scale our products or scale our whatever. So I
So
just think
true.
that that was very interesting that you mentioned that. And I just had to say something on that.
You're totally right, and it's so important. I mean, I can't count the amount of logos, identity systems, website that I, designed and made for clients over the years. And sometimes, and I have a rule. It's the 3 rule. The first time I I give them a logo or a design, and they say I don't like it, say okay. I give them a second chance and a new design. Now I know what the customer needs because I'm designing for the customer, not for the owner. And then I give the second revision. And if they say, I don't like it, I don't like the color green. And I tell them, yes, but that's the right color uh, to achieve your business goals because a very specific customer that the customer base that you are going after,
Right.
that's the right color. Yeah, but I don't like it. My wife don't like it. Okay. Oh, you don't understand how many times I heard that. Let me ask my
Right.
wife what she thinks about
Right.
it. And then I give them the third option. And if on the third option they still say I don't like it, I do whatever they want. And months later, I go and check and do my research to see how their business goes and how much traffic they have, and I know how to check it. And 90% of the times, their business is closed already, or nothing
Oh,
changed.
wow. Wow.
Yeah, you have to trust that you don't know enough and you don't have enough experience in design and marketing to do it right. For instance, how many times someone from a magazine call you and try to sell you, I don't know, a campaign, one full page for a great price or whatever, and then you said, you know what, I'll do it, or I'll do this Facebook campaign or whatever, and you started talking about in designing and talking about the features and how amazing the product is and all that, and you paid and it cost you money and nothing happened. You said, oh, you know what, it's not right. It's not right because you didn't do it right, because no one cares about the product features anymore. Back in the 50s,
Mm.
people bought because they need something, and that's why they bought it. Today, people don't buy because they need, they buy because they can, because they want.
Wow.
So
Okay. So their
why?
need has
So
become a want now.
exactly, because
Mhm.
uh, you don't buy a crazy expensive smartphone because you need it. You buy because you want to buy this specific one. Think about it.
Yeah.
Commodity and a
Mhm.
brand. So a commodity, let's say apples are a commodity. You can get them wherever you want, like really wherever you want, and you probably decide to buy it based on price. Usually, I'll buy the apples that looks good and the price is pretty low. So it's based on price when it comes to commodity. Brand, you decide to buy even if the price is high. So it's not based on price. It's based on something else. Feeling. It makes you feel in a specific way. Think of how many
Mhm.
people, I mean, why people buy iPhone. iPhone is not
For real.
that,
Yeah, that
you
always
know,
boggled me. Like the line is literally around the corner for $1,000 iPhone.
exactly. So think about it. It
Mhm.
makes them feel in a specific way.
Mhm.
We're a social animal. We want to be part of something. We want to feel that we belong in something. We want to be part of a tribe. So when someone buys an iPhone, it says something about them. outside and inside. They feel that they would have more traction uh, for their peers, to their peers, because people will say, oh, he has enough money to buy an iPhone, the latest iPhone. Oh, he has enough money to buy a Mercedes. How many people, and I live in Hollywood, so I see it all the time. How many people do
Hmm.
you think buy a Bugatti because of the features of the car?
No, it's all the status. It's all the status. It's
Exactly.
about the status of
It
power,
says
and
something
it just goes all the way
exactly.
back. Yeah.
They feel
Okay.
they
So
made
if
it.
people are not getting this right now, you better be catching all these nuggets. I'm telling you, this is good. You're dropping too many good nuggets, Dino. I'm telling you.
That's
So
what I'm
let me
here
ask.
for.
Yeah, okay. So now we didn't kind of cover that. And I definitely, for me, have a better understanding of that because I think that, as you said, that the demand is the customer. And I think for me, the customer drives the demand. They are the ones that want the instant gratification of things, the
Hmm.
instant gratification of having something in their possession that makes them feel a certain way or feel like they have a certain status in life or fulfillment. I think that, if I had to look back on the years of what I know about advertising versus what it is today, I do have to agree that back then that, television stations pretty much put it in your face telling you that you must have this specific product you know
Right.
and now with all the technology and the apps, people are choosing what they actually want as opposed to advertisements being in your face. Look at Netflix. You can and Hulu, you can actually choose, sometimes whether you want to have commercials or not. you know
Right.
and if you choose not to have commercials, that means that you're going to be looking for certain products as opposed to someone constantly telling you that you got to have a specific product. So I can see how those two marry together. But when you're talking about the marketing, so if we flip the switch now, we're talking about the marketing where small businesses are like trying to market this feeling, you know, maybe give like maybe two top tips of how they're doing it wrong and maybe two tips of how they should do it right.
So I think that the best thing is to, and usually this is something that it's hard to do when it's just you in the business or just you and there's no one from the outside. But the idea is to think of your brand personality and brand DNA. What do I mean? Think that you are building a persona, who your brand would be if they were to be human. Okay? So would it be female, male, what kind of car they would ride? Maybe they will not drive a car. They ride a bicycles. What kind of bicycles they will drive? Um, BMX or rally or something like that. Where are they coming from? What are their values? What the brand stands for? Because brands are different, and just like people are different. Think about it. You have, let's say, 10 friends. Some of them you trust, some of them you don't. Usually so think
Mm.
why. And usually that's because you have some kind of same shared values with those that you trust. 64% of consumers say that shared values are the main reason that they have a trusted relationship with a brand. So to have a relationship and trust, you have to think of your brand as a persona. So actually, you can take a pen and paper and start building this person who is your brand. Then, when you have those personality traits, their values, what the brand believes in, what they stand for, is it a funny brand? Is it serious? considerate, and energetic, not energetic, have an old school point of view or a super new age. All those things, you build a persona. Then you take this persona and you see if all those traits and values and this rounded, deep person who is your brand is aligned to the right consumer base that you're after. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
people who sell products say that they're targeting everyone. One of my first questions when I have
Mm-hmm.
a, a consultancy or a branding session is, who is your customer? And usually the answer is everybody. No, this is the biggest mistake ever. Because if you try to sell to everyone, you will find yourself selling to no one. And that's why you don't have sales, because you try to get
Mm-hmm.
them and everybody. No.
Right.
You need to find that customer base, a very, very, very defined, specific customer base that is the right customer for what you are selling. You need to
You
think,
know, I want to
yeah,
interrupt you for just a second when you made that comment when people say they want to advertise or they want to market to everyone. And I think from a small business perspective, when I go back to talk about the advertisements that TV, media, radio,
hmm
newspapers. From a consumer perspective, it feels like that they are selling to everyone, you know,
that's true.
and
That's so
so
true.
you are definitely saying things that I actually say to my clients when I tell them who exactly is your customer, what are their interests, where are they located, where can you find them, what are their potential behaviors, because these are the ones that will buy what you have to offer. But when you constantly see the media, when the advertisements and the newspapers and the mobile apps, it feels like that they are marketing to like everyone. So people who are new startups, the initial thing is, I just don't want to be held in a box to not just only do just this person and that person. And you're definitely right that you have to like find whoever that person is and see if you can target it to that like general location. But it's definitely feeling like, when you see those commercials, you feel like that's everybody.
Right, right. But at the end of the day, you and I know that it's not like that, because
Exactly.
they targeting very, very, very specific demographics and
Mhm.
psychographics. And
Mhm.
let me give you a great tip that really, uh, that's how big companies market and do marketing and branding. And it goes back to the question why. When you think and define your customer base, or as I like to call it, a customer, um, think of why they will buy it or why they will use it. And again, don't
Mhm.
think about the product or the features. The question why,
Mhm.
why should why should they go to that coffee shop is not about the coffee.
So how
You
do
need to
they so how do they do that? And I'm sorry, I have to keep jumping in because this is like a really good question here I'm about to ask you is how do they do that without involving their personal feelings about why should someone buy? Because to me, what I hear all the time is they should buy because I believe or I think that I like this and this and this, and they are going to like this and this
no,
because.
no.
How do they get away from like inserting themselves in the middle of the why?
Okay, so let's do. I'll give you an example with a client that I worked with. So there is a coffee place, and the coffee place didn't work good enough, like really not. And then we said, okay, let's define who is our target audience. And we found out that it's a woman, married, with around 2 to 3 kids. So she has kids, she has a job, she's married, around the 40s, early 40s. So her life is hectic. She comes from work and she has even more work at home because we know how hard it is to, to manage a family. And then we said, okay, when she will go, when she needs to go to the coffee, what she wants to feel when she goes into our coffee shop. And it's not about the coffee. It's about that 30 minutes of forgetting about the family and the craziness and work and getting the kids ready to school and her husband thinks it's time for herself. She needs
Mm-hmm.
to forget about it. It's
Got to
her
forget about it. Okay.
and her coffee. So that's the reason why. It has nothing to do with me or with the coffee shop. It has everything to do with her and her life and how we are helping her life being better. If we can get her to get into the coffee shop and forget about this because the kids are in their school or curriculum activity after curriculum activities or whatever, and she has the time and for herself, she will come back again and again and again, and she would feel great when she goes to that coffee shop. When she will hear the name of the coffee shop, she will have very strong positive feelings. So
Feelings.
it's
Wow,
not about
that's
us.
a great example. That's a great
And
example for. Mm-hmm.
and when you design the logo, the interior design, um, the website of the coffee shop, the menus, um, the commercials, the ads, everything has to talk to that specific moment. So it's a moment of a 42-year-old female with a family and a job. That's what you need to tell the designer, and that's what logo they need to build. It has nothing to do with the colors that you like or what you think femininity is because it's not going to be pink, let's say it that. Because she's a
Wow.
42-year-old woman, she has a
Mm-hmm.
career, she knows, she's been around, and it needs to be
She
clear and
she just
clean.
want to relax and have and just relax and
Exactly.
forget about. You know what? First of all, that is such a great analogy, and I hope people are really listening to your interview right now because I think this is the first time in a very long time that I've heard someone put branding and marketing in this perspective. And I'm so thankful that you were able to share some of that information because I think a lot of it was just hitting home for me. I know that some of the stuff I know I'm doing, but then I hear a lot of things that I need to be doing. I hope people are also hearing that too. So if you're listening to this podcast, I hope you rewind and get all these notes and reach out to Dino because he's a mastermind right now, and you definitely got to check that out. So let me ask you, Dino, are you in any events going on right now where people can come out and see you in person or to kind of meet you and talk about branding and marketing?
So first thing, they can go to dbrandingla.com. That's my website again, dbrandingla.com, and they can reach me there. And of course, I do workshops at the moment, so they can, give me a call or email, and I can either do a webinar or a workshop at their place. I actually just had a workshop for consultants. A very big consultant company called me to do a workshop because the way I look at things is different, and they knew that they want their consultants to understand better this whole aspect of marketing with feelings and marketing through branding and through the brand. So they can always email me at info@dbrandingla.com, or even give me a call at 323-645-0137. I really like to help. I really love to help. And every time I have a new session with a new client, I'm waiting for that aha moment, which always happens sometimes in the first 2 hours, after like 2 hours.
Wow.
Because I always say it's like going to the shrink, having a session with me. It's like going to the shrink, because I ask really deep personal questions, and sometimes they don't understand why. What is this weird question? Why he asks me that? And then after like an hour and a half, 2 hours, they say that, now I understand. Now I have an idea.
Well, they shouldn't have to
what
wait
you're.
2 hours for that, though, Dino, because I got it in the first 10 minutes. It's like,
Oh,
aha.
well, yeah. It depends. It's a person.
Yes,
It's about the person. Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so I have one final question for you.
Sure.
What do you need personally and professionally to thrive in your business or your personal endeavors? What do you need?
Wow, that's a great question. Um, what do I need?
Yeah, what do you need? See, you're so
Um,
busy thinking about wants, you got to think about what you need now.
right. I think that openness, that's something that I need. And yeah, when 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 there's openness, when people are open, things can thrive. Relationships can thrive. Business can thrive. When people are not open and they're focused on themselves and their ego, mm, yeah, it doesn't work.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, guys, you have got a powerful interview right here in Dino Carter right now, talking about the true meaning of branding and marketing for your business. And if you didn't get anything out of this last 40 minutes, I don't know what to tell you, because he pretty much dropped all the bombs on here, and I really appreciate it. And look, you gotta like, share, and vote. If you like this interview, please vote for Dino and any of your other favorites that is on the podcast platform. Make sure you check out all the past years. We have 2016, 2017, and 2018. And we want to hear from you. So make sure that you reach out to us and let us know how you like the podcast platform right now, what more that you want to see, because we want to engage with you, the listeners, so that we can improve upon our service. So make sure you do that. And Dino, I hate to end this thing because it was getting real good right now, but I want to thank you for being on a podcast platform and dropping
Thank
bombs
you.
on us. And really wish you all the best of luck with all your workshops and everything, because I'm definitely going to be working with you. More to come on that, and be part of the
Awesome.
movement. Thank you.
Thank you